You are listening to Imperfect Fifth, a podcast, offbeat conversations with music industry humans that we love. Today's episode is brought to you by Easy Visibility. Let Aaron Zimmerman be your visibility guide and visual storyteller, currently serving entrepreneurs globally. And by Double Take Productions. We have no tagline, we're just twins who have been taking photos, shooting and editing film, event planning, and more together since 2010. Be sure to nab your Rainbow Kitten Surprise hoodie or crop sweatshirt in our shop. Check out imperfectfifth.com/merch to see all of our current merchandise options, including small batch handmade earrings. For our first episode of Season 2, we had a chat with singer-songwriter Janet Labelle. Of course, we dove into the topic of aliens, but you best believe we got deep before that. Be sure to listen through to the end for August show dates.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janet Labelle. I'm a Brooklyn-based singer-songwriter, and my music is inspired by a lot of my influences, which are mostly 60s and 70s pop influences, but I have a background of growing up playing in bands, so I think that influences my work a lot as well. I grew up playing as a punk drummer, but I also play guitar and keyboards, so in my music I like to be very much involved with the arrangement process and the production process as well. So that's a little bit about me and my music. I guess one thing I'll say about my music is that it's always been an outlet for me to communicate with other people and also to better understand myself. So in that way, a lot of my songs are sort of written as conversations to either myself or another person.
I love that.
Yeah. It's actually interesting because this past September, I started a program at NYU to study music therapy. So a lot of this sort of understanding ourselves and other people through music is involved in that program as well. So
that your studies will probably going to mold a lot of what you do going forward, probably. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it as more of a deeper exploration into exploration into understanding, what goes on when we listen to music, what do we experience when we perform or play music, and when we do that with other people, what is that experience like? So, and it's interesting that you know about it too, because a lot of times I get a question, people ask me like, what is music therapy? I think that's a great question, and also it's a growing field, so it is relatively new in the scheme of medicine and therapy. So it's great, and I actually only really started understanding more about it a few years ago, so it's relatively new to me as well.
Good deal. How exciting. What is the first album or song that you remember hearing? And does that particular work of art have any influence or bearing on how you approach music today?
So a lot of my favorite artists, I have very distinct memories of hearing the songs for the first time. And I remember when I think I might have been around like 7 or 8 years old, and a neighborhood girl, she was having a sock hop birthday party. I remember this, and she was really excited about this party, and she had made me some sort of demo cassette of music that would be played. And there was the song "Why Do Fools Fall in Love," and I think there might have been, I can't remember the whole playlist, but I do remember that the Beach Boys were on it, and it was their classic songs like there's Surfer Girl was one of them. Yeah, and California Girls, obviously. So those two I remember really distinctly. And Help Me Rhonda was on there too. And I just, something really just like, I don't know, I was really jazzed. When I was listening to it, it moved me. It was very super poppy, but I really gravitated towards it. And then I think I had asked my mom for like a CD, CDs weren't available then. It was like, Yeah, I guess it was a tape cassette of just greatest hits. So I sort of just got my start in a more typical way of learning the greatest hits. And then as I got older, I just started appreciating Brian more as a songwriter and arranger. And I've been able to see him a few times in different contexts performing, and he really inspires me. And as I got older, my taste developed a little more, I like to think, but I started listening to, you know, some of their older albums, like their Friends album is one of my all-time favorites. It sounds just kind of like friends getting together and hanging in a living room, and I like to think they're at Brian Wilson's house where he has that sand pit under his piano. It's like classic setup, and like all his friends would be there. Or for me, it's the way that I like to experience music, like that communal sort of setting. So yeah, so a lot of his work has inspired my music as well. Just mostly, I think, trying to channel his production and his harmonies, although I could never do it justice, but I think that influence definitely comes through in work that I have done so far.
And I also, as you were talking about how you imagined them like playing that song, it's so funny because I love to speak with artists. I like to ask people, like, when you create a song, like, for example, your single, I Only See You, is there a moment where you're like, I can envision the fans listening to it in this very specific way, like, you know, drinking whiskey by a fire or, you know, in their backyard type of thing?
Yeah, that's a great image. I wish I had written the song while I was drinking whiskey by a fire. But yeah, I think the songs that I write that speak to me the most, I guess that sounds a little strange, but like sometimes when I'm writing a song, I'm really connecting lyrically. And the interesting thing about I Only See You was that it was written in like 10 minutes time, like, and recorded, which never happens. That's not something that happens to me at all, at least. I mean, it feels like lightning striking in the right place, but that's why the song is very special to me. And actually, the recording is totally done on like a garage band, just very like, you know, I wrote it in the moment and then I just like, oh, I'm just going to record this. And it was really just a demo of, you know, what I was trying to capture, but I could never recreate the same moment. Like I tried to prepare it for a studio and I was, you know, thinking of all these different types of arrangements and how I could do it. And I just couldn't capture that same in the moment, like raw emotion. So I guess to go back to your question about, you know, thinking about the audience, I feel like it's really important that the audience experiences something that is very organic and very in the moment. And I think, and I hope, my hope is always that the emotion comes through and can be sort of a relatable sentiment, because it is very raw, especially that song. It's very super vulnerable, and it, you know, it's really this unrequited love theme that's been done time and time again, but it's always just really relevant, I think. So it can be done in many ways. So
when I was listening to that song, like, you did it. It is such a vulnerable song, and it's one of those things that is so highly relatable. And you did it in a way that was just like so airy and bouncy, and like, so it's got this attractiveness to it that I guess if I had written a song in that same state of mind would probably be a little more like morose or something. So the way that you played with the instrumentals around that and the way that you did your vocals it was so beautifully done. So I have to give you kudos on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it came together in a way that it was like the song was playing through me. Like I really felt like I was not that much of a part of it. And this rarely happens. Like usually I'm like pretty meticulous and I'm never satisfied with lyrics, and I go through many rewrites and it takes me like years to actually record something that I am like finally happy with. But But I actually, when this song came out, I released it just as a demo on my SoundCloud. And I wrote it years ago, so I released it like pretty immediately, just being like, I'll see what people think about this. And actually, it's one of the songs that got the most listens out of all of the songs, and it just blew my mind because, I go to studios, I take a lot of time, I plan out like who's going to produce or engineer, and, I get everything. I try to get like really professional sounding recordings, and this was just this one-off thing that people were responding to. I think maybe because it was sort of like this raw, like just in the moment sentiment. So that's the first time I ever released anything like that. And so for the last EP, which this song is on, came out last December, I just had it remastered. I basically just had it mastered. So nothing really has changed much, but I felt it was important to sort of do it at least a little more justice, because I felt so, strongly about it. So.
Yeah. Well, and so I have a couple of questions that stem off of things that you were talking about. One, and I know you touched on it a couple of times, how you approach a lot of it, or at least this one track lyrically, but aside from writing I Only See You, which seems to have been a very different and very wonderful experience, actually, since it brought this song, I wondered, do you have a process, like when you're feeling stuck? How do you get into the mindset to write? And then how do you normally approach it? Is it, as you had mentioned, is it normally typically lyrics first? Do you have a chord? Is there something that gets a spark ignited to do that? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm always so interested in like other people's creative processes. For me, it's really changed over time. When I was young, I used to play in this pop punk band called Avery, and I would just be like writing in my diary all the time, like an angsty teen. And that was sort of the crux of like the work. It would be like, oh, I gotta get this out. Like I gotta, it was like really writing driven. It's really funny to listen to those songs, again, so many years later. And actually that band is reuniting this summer for like, we haven't played in 15 years together.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. That's really actually blowing my mind. So I'm actually like reliving a lot of these, lyrics or prepping for the show. But it's funny because like a lot of it, and I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, like I was like, wow, so juvenile. Like, I'll be like, wow, like I really was such a hormonal teen, I guess. And then on the other hand, I'm like, wow, some things actually never change. Like I'm still struggling with the same small things, or like, things like that. So it's a pretty interesting experience. So that was in my younger years, and then I think a little bit later on, when I started being a solo artist, I was really just like hard on myself to like get material written. So I would sort of, if I wasn't feeling inspired, I would like sit down and really try to force myself to write things. And I can't say that is a great method either, because a lot of the times I just have like a lot of just unfinished things, but it was still a good practice. And where I'm at right now is that I guess maybe I'm just getting older, but I just love, when I'm struck by something, I explore it. I see where it takes me. And lately I've really been trying to write music that, I could change the lyrics, I could change things about, like, I'm just writing in a style that's like, I'm not attached to anything. And actually that's really helping me produce more and write more, not having this mentality that, things have to be perfect. Or I think back when I was younger, like in my early 20s, like it took me a while to put out music because I wanted everything to be totally perfect and the lyrics 100%, but that really would slow down my process. And actually, I've been recording this weekend out in LA, and I was talking to the producer named Scott Baseman. His studio is called The Original Soundtrack, which is very cool. I just posted an Instagram photo of it. It's like a total like retro, very cool studio, and we have a lot of the same influences. But I think we were talking a lot about the Beatles and all of our favorite artists, and he had said, I think he was quoting McCartney saying, it's important just to like get it out there, like even if you have stand-in lyrics. And he referenced that song, Dude Looks Like a Lady. Like that was a stand-in lyric, and then they called the song doctor. I guess there was a song doctor at the time. This is all what Scott Basin was telling me, that he said that the song doctor was like, no, like that's the lyric, that's the song. So you never know. And what I love in the recording process is sometimes my music gets really shaped just by being in the moment and not singing the things that I wrote down, and then listening back and thinking like, well, that wasn't exactly what I meant to do, but then thinking like, actually that really worked. Like there was something that you couldn't have pre-planned that is kind of like coming through the song, very organic moment. So yeah, I'm trying to be a little more laid back these days, and it works, and like I'm enjoying it more. I'm enjoying the process a lot more, because I think it is really that you do have to just focus on enjoying the process, because that's why you're doing it in the first place. And I think early 20s, mid 20s for me, it was pretty. It was tough because like being a solo artist, you don't have the benefit of talking with other band members and like getting like constant feedback. So like you're kind of in a feedback loop with yourself, and you can really go down a rabbit hole of like, this isn't right or this isn't good. And, I could be doing things differently. And what I learned about the creative process is you can do things in so many ways, just an infinite amount of ways, so that if you approach things where you're not attached, you can always revisit and re-record. So like similarly to the I Only See You, like it was released at one point, and then I'm releasing it again, and who knows, maybe I will do a studio arrangement one day, it's just nice to have that flexibility, I think. And yeah, I think we should be having fun when we're making music.
Yes.
So I'm all about that.
Kudos. Music video for the song, I saw that you worked on with Hailey, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You guys chose to go black and white with that music video, and having just kind of talked about how you like to be part of the creative process, is that something you were involved in, or was the video kind of her idea moving into it? Like, how did all of that go down, and do you have any fun anecdotes from that particular process?
Yeah, so I contacted Hannah because years ago I came across her Instagram, and I saw like she has these beautiful, like she does very aesthetically like stunning and beautiful work, and I remember seeing it and thinking like, oh, I would love for her to do my album cover, and she did actually for the last EP, and then when I was ready to do a video for the title track, I contacted her, and actually it worked out really well because she was leaving to move out to LA. So I was like, oh, thank God she had like a few more weeks left. And I pinned her down. I'm like, okay, like we made a little schedule and we chose the day. So yeah, we sat down and we planned out that video and what sort of emotions we wanted to convey. And I think because it is such an emotional song and it's so sparse with the instrumentation, so it's just ukulele and voice, because of its sparseness, we were thinking that a black and white motif could just help with sort of like minimizing any other distractions or just sort of focusing on sort of the emotional content. But it's funny because some people have given me feedback. They're like, I really love that song, but it's really sad. I'm like, oh. And even Hannah after the video was like, she's like, I just rewatched it. I realized how sad it really is. Like, I don't know, in our actual conversation if we were trying to be like, let's make it so sad, you know. I don't think we were at all trying to do that. Really the idea was just to have sort of this like timeless look. So we filmed in downtown Brooklyn where there's a lot of cobblestone streets, and, you know, we try not to get like too many cars and things or people in the background.
Right.
We make it very like classic New York. We filmed it in winter, which I think really speaks to like the sparseness of the track and the rawness of the emotion. And Hannah was great. She collected all these little objects and mirrors, because the song is called "I Only See You," and basically it's this woman. It's me in the video, but I'm just gonna do a third party step outside. So
yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was doing when we actually filmed it, just trying to like channel this woman. It's like really longing for something she once had, and she's sort of wandering the streets, and she's finding these objects and these sort of reminders, and they're all these reflective bits. So like there's a mirror, there's this like beautiful stone that's held up to the light, and there's all this reflection imagery. But no matter where she goes and what she finds, she's only just kind of looking back at herself, and she's like sort of longing for this lost love. And then the final scene just sort of ends in nature, and I feel like for me, everything just ends with nature. It begins with nature and it ends with nature, and I think that might have been her suggestion too, like, we'll just end it in a field, and we had some roses scattered around, and there's a mirror up in a tree that the woman is looking at, and that's sort of the last closing image. And it was nice because she had helped me with my album cover, and then doing the video and having it her last weeks in New York, and it was like a very New York piece. I think it was very sentimental for both of us. So I think, it worked out really well, but it's very super simple. And actually she shot it on an iPhone, and I think that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I've been hearing more artists are doing this, and even movies like higher production movies are being shot on iPhones, and I think it's really incredible what you can do with the phone. So I'm not very technology savvy, but at all. I prefer more analog mediums, but like I love working with other people that really get it and really can sort of achieve a certain vision or aesthetic. So she's really just incredible. I feel really honored that I've been able to work with her.
I feel weird almost at this point, like throwing in a offhand question. But since that's kind of our thing here, I did want to ask you about aliens. Is that something you feel comfortable talking a little bit about?
Yes.
I don't know much. It's fine.
I think one detail that has sort of shaped me as a human, which is very strange, is that I'm obsessed with Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone, like the 60s.
Yeah.
Twilight Zone. And I feel like if I met Rod Serling, I think he died in the 70s, but like I think we would have gotten along very well, because I think I was a really strange kid. I mean, I was a strange kid. I used to write like horror stories like in third grade. Like like this day and age would be really concerning for like like you would get a phone call home, you would sit in the office, like it wouldn't be good. But I embrace the bizarre. So any question you want to chat about?
I love that. It's just a couple quick ones, I promise. But now I have a ton of others since you said Twilight Zone.
Yes. There's even a Twilight Zone podcast I found on Spotify.
Oh, no.
And it's basically just a group of individuals like talking about episodes, and I will sit there and listen to it for like 2 hours. Like,
yeah. You're going to get me sucked in this afternoon.
I know. It's, yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Well, I mean, I got to clean at some point. Might as well put something on, but geez. Well, I know in the news a lot lately, they've been talking about how this group of people wants to storm Area 51. You've heard this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I figured. Do you think that if we storm the space that we'd actually see aliens, or do you think the government's hiding something else there?
Okay, well, here's my thought on it. I think the fact that it's so highly publicized in the news, if there are aliens, they're taking care of that right now. Like they would be relocating, right? Like I don't know. I don't know if the storming the Area 51 is going to be the way to get the answers, but I think it's a great question in terms of, you know, what I believe, like where what my opinion is on that conspiracy is that, you know, I think there's so much that we just don't know. It's always a little unsettling to know that certain people know in our government that we might not know these things. Of course, that is sort of, you know, the world that we live in. But, you know, I believe, like, you know, there's just a lot that we don't know yet. And it would be interesting to know if, like, what secrets are being kept and held. Hopefully public interest could prompt maybe a more, like, official discussion about it. But I think, you know, raiding that area sounds like maybe kind of dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
I like to live on the edge sometimes. Like, I don't know if I'm, like, willing to show up there. I don't know if that's the way, you know, that's not maybe the way to do it, but.
No, and I agree. I actually, when they start talking about it online, I'm like, you're giving these guys lead time. So, like, what is wrong with you?
You can't do it on Facebook. Like, there has to be some sort of underground society, like, created. But then again, that probably wouldn't attract the scale and the level of people, right?
Also true. I just love how everyone's quote is just like, they can't take us all out.
Exactly. It's really interesting. And I think, you know, it kind of adds this element of excitement into the world that we already, you know, live in, which is a little crazy and unpredictable. And, you know, the truth is out there, I guess.
I do love that we're fixating on it. We do. It's clear that we need, like, something to look forward to right now, and this is it.
That's what it is. You know, it's like, you know, it's almost like a spirituality. Like, it's like we need something to think about to sort of open up our limited scope. So,
right.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm glad you asked about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then quick follow-up that not necessarily has anything to do with aliens, but might. I have been talking to a lot of people lately who've been telling me that they experienced weird stuff, whether they're, like, out on the road with the band or if they're hanging out at home, like things, you know, when you get a weird feeling and you get, like, all the goosebumps and you don't really know what's happening. So I just didn't, so I didn't know if that has happened to you before, if it was like maybe there was a ghost around or maybe there was a UFO. Have you had any, like, weird experience that you can't quite explain happen to you?
It's interesting. I think I can relate a little more to just having, like, a strange feeling. Like, I've never seen, like, you know, like, or heard, like, something unexplainable, but I've definitely have been in areas where I've gotten really creepy vibes. It's actually interesting because, well, I'm out in LA right now and I've recorded, 2 past EPs, Moon Songs and Blossom and Blue, at this recording studio called 4th Street Recording. And it's this incredible studio. The Beach Boys recorded Kokomo there. Fiona Apple did Criminal. It's got an incredible piano. But I've heard that it's haunted. So some of the interns had said, you know, that they, you know, they were there, like, closing late at night and they would sense some, like, unexplained things. So I was never in the space alone, but it definitely I could definitely sense something about it that, you know, maybe there is something to that. It could possibly be haunted.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and I think really, like, I just get, like, weird feelings sometimes, but And also, I think when I was a kid, I would think about that a lot, like when I learned about the concept of ghosts, like, are there people among us? Like, what's happening? And I was a very curious child, so I'm like that's a possibility, you know, and I would fixate. I thought about that a lot. And nowadays I just think, you know, like, if that is the case, like, you know, we just have to be peaceful beings, you know, and try to live our life peacefully. And there may be other beings, there may be, you know, sort of like supernatural, presences. But yeah, that's just, I don't know. It's something that I could go either way on that. Like, I feel fine about it either way, but yeah, but really, really interesting. So,
is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? Anything coming up that you'd like us to keep our eyes peeled for?
Oh, definitely. So, well, this weekend I just finished up some recordings, so hoping to get those out. You know, timelines are loose, so I'm not even gonna give a timeline. But, you know, just stay tuned. And there's definitely some new music on the way. This summer, in a few weeks, I'm going to be doing a reunion show with my old band, Avery. So this is happening in New Jersey. I don't know if there's any.
Perfect. Yeah.
But there's a show at Asbury Park on August 16th. And then there's a show in Jersey City on August 17th with the band Avery. So those are happening. And then at the end of the month, if there's any New York City fans listening, I'll be playing at Rockwood Music Hall on Monday, August 26th at 7 p.m. And that's, you know, pretty much it. I might be doing another radio show with Radio Free Brooklyn. They're local, based in Bushwick. So I'll be posting that on my Instagram and all the social media. So if anyone wants to tune into that, that will be available as well. It's been a real pleasure.